Hi students, welcome to Spanish English Interpretation Translation Certificate Program Virtual Speaker Series Spring 2020. The Virtual Speaker Series is a joint effort by Business Applications Technology faculty Lilian de la Torre Reed, Nayeli Strong, and Margarita de la Torre, and is open to students enrolled in BAO 51 Introduction to Interpreting, BAO 57 Medical Interpreting, and BAO 58 Legal Interpreting. The guest speaker series will be presented live during BAO 51's Monday night class via Zoom from 7 to 8 p.m. from March 30th to May 4th. Please consult your instructor for instructions on how to access the recorded or live sessions. If you would like more information about our certificate program, please visit the website www.psych.edu/VA. They're logging in. So thank you, students. Thanks so much for joining our Monday class. I know we have other outside guests, not only from the interpreting program, but also former students from the program. I welcome you. And also thank you so much, Omar. I know you have a very busy schedule. Just really quickly, like I said, Omar has been a favorite of our students. He's returned to Santa Ana College for the past year and a half. And in 2013, he took the oral examination set forth by the Judicial Council, and he passed the first time. He's going to share with us how that came about. And as you know, the passing rate for that exam is very low. So we're very, very proud of him. He's a role model. He's based in Orange County. And as when you pass that exam, you're not only certified as a court interpreter, but he's also certified as the medical interpreter. So with that, having said that, I know that there's a longer introduction for all his accomplishment that he's done, but I'm just gonna let him himself tell you how he came to the United States and how, you know, what was his language level fluency when he first came, and you're just gonna love his presentation. So adelante, Omar. Let me go ahead and unmute you. Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, they can. Actually, this is, I wasn't used to using Zoom. We just began using Zoom for the depositions a couple of weeks ago due to the coronavirus pandemic. But yeah, I think I've seen some of these faces before. I guess some of these people look familiar. So hello again. The ones who do not know me, my name is Omar Brady. I used to be Omar Contreras. And the reason I've changed my name is because I became a U.S. citizen about, how long ago? About 2 to 3 months ago in the month of January. And now I have my dad's last name, you know, my adopted dad's last name. His name is Brady. So now my name is Brady, and it's a lot easier to carry the last name Brady than rather than, you know, like Contreras Martinez. In court, you have to spell out your name every single time they put you under oath for a legal proceeding. So before it was like Oscar Omar Contreras hyphen Martinez. Now it's just Omar Brady. So it's a lot easier now than it used to be in the past. But well, I related my experience to some of you guys before, and I came to the United States back in the year of 2002. Actually, it was in September of 2002, and I didn't have a legal status when I came here. I came here actually illegally, and I struggled a lot. I was one of the ESL students. I'm sure most of you know what ESL is, you know, English as a second language. So I put myself through school. It was a difficult journey because, you know, I didn't have, like I explained before to some of you guys, I didn't have the means to succeed. I didn't have a car, didn't have a green card. I didn't have, you know, enough money to go to college. So it was a difficult path, but you know, something that I can tell you now is that when you want to achieve a goal, when you want to be successful, you have to strive, you have to apply yourself, and then you'll be able to achieve what you want. Now, I always wanted to be an interpreter, always wanted to be a court interpreter. And to be honest with you, I didn't know exactly how to, the process worked, right? So I put myself through school in the city of Santa Fe Springs, and I studied really, really hard I wanted to be a court interpreter. Then I realized that there were three, and this is for you guys to know, there are three different types of interpreters. There is medical interpreters, administrative interpreters, and certified court interpreters. So in my case, I went for the legal, program, and that takes about 9 months. When I went to that school in Santa Fe Springs. But any school that you attend, I know that it requires a lot of studying. You have to dedicate 2 or 3 hours a day, 1 hour a day, at least to study. And that is because you have to memorize a lot of words, a lot of the legal terms. You have to have a lot of, you have to know the legal terminology. You have to have the speed to interpret. You have to know your words in English and Spanish, and you have to know how to control your anxiety when you go to the test. Something that I do remember is that many of my companions, many of my classmates who actually failed the test, they failed because they didn't know how to control their anxiety when they went for the test. It's very difficult sometimes to control yourself. Many times it's not so much the test, to be honest with you. Many times is about yourself. And now let me give you an example. I became a U.S. citizen 3 months ago. And I always knew that, this is just for you to use that as an example. And it's not so much about how difficult the test can be. It's about your own emotions and how you have to learn how to control your anxiety, okay? When I went for my citizenship test, and I'm sure perhaps some of you have gone through that process, a lot of people were telling me that, passing that test was difficult. And I was like, well, how can that be? It's only 100 questions, they're going to ask you 10 questions and you'll be fine. Well, the thing is that people get very nervous. Even with 10 questions, they don't know what to do and how to answer those questions, and they fail. Many people wait until they turn 60 something or 50 something so they can take the test in their native tongue, in their native language. And surprisingly speaking, some people, when they take that test, which is only 10 questions, the U.S. citizenship test, they fail. And I'm like, I was flabbergasted. I was in shock, where I was like, how can you fail this test when it is so easy? Well, it's the same thing with the test for interpreting. It's exactly the same thing. It's about how to control your anxiety, how to control your emotions, and you have to prepare well for the test. You have to study, you have to memorize things, you have to practice a lot. So when you go for your test, then you can, more like be in control of yourself. Now, in my case, I was nervous. I'm not gonna say, I wasn't nervous. I had some level of anxiety, I would say, but something that really helps a lot, something that really helps you a lot is when you study consistently. It's not so much how many hours a day, is that you have to do it consistently. You have to study, you have to memorize your words, you have to do your homework, you have to take your classes. That gives you a lot of confidence when you take your test. Now, like I said before, there are three different levels of interpreters. There is a medical interpreters. I don't know if you know this already, but for instance, when you get medically certified, you can only work at hospitals. You can do follow-up appointments with medical doctors. You can work at any medical entity. You can do some of the legal cases. In this case, you can do a depo prep. A depo prep is a preparation for a deposition, and that's when the attorney prepares his client for the deposition. So in this case, some medical interpreters can do that. They can't take care of the actual deposition, but they can do the depo, what we call a depo prep. But mainly medical interpreters have to be in the medical field. Now, administrative interpreters, when you become an administrative interpreter, you can do almost any legal proceeding except for going into a courtroom. You can, in order to be in court, you have to be a certified court interpreter. So that is, as far as I know, that is the only limitation that you have as an administrative interpreter. You can do medical assignments, medical interpretations, you can do depositions, you can even go to the immigration department, but you can't go into a courtroom and do a legal case with the attorneys as an interpreter. Now, when you're a certified court interpreter, that gives you a lot of freedom, because you can do a variety of cases. You can be in a courtroom, you can do civil cases, criminal cases, you can go to the immigration department, you can even get a job as as an interpreter at a hospital, because when you are a certified court interpreter, that allows you to work pretty much everywhere. The only thing, if you're a state certified, the only thing is that you cannot do federal cases. That requires a different certification. But other than that, you can do pretty much any kind of legal cases. Some interpreters like immigration a lot. A lot of them get a little nervous because immigration can be a little tough when it is an asylum case. If it is for, let's say, your wife is requesting you, or a father is requesting his son or his daughter, or the son is requesting the father, those cases as an interpreter, you don't really struggle a lot, because it's pretty easy. The questions they ask is pretty much background information, like, what is your address and who's your employer, things like that. But if you do an asylum case, you come from another country, or the person comes from another country and he's looking for asylum in the United States because he's been abused in his country, or he's gone through some, like violence and things like that, then those cases can be pretty tough. So you have to be well prepared in the way that you have to know a lot of the legal terms, and you have to have a lot of knowledge in the English or Spanish, because you're going to be they're going to be asking you a lot of questions. Well, not you, but in this case, the applicant. And as an interpreter, you have to be able to answer, to interpret correctly, because there is going to be an interpreter who's going to be over the phone. That's something that they do almost at any, as far as I know, at any immigration center that handles asylum cases. They have an over the phone interpreter. So you're interpreting during the case, and there's an interpreter who's on the phone just listening to your interpretation, and he's also listening to where the applicant is saying. And if you make a mistake, then immediately he's supposed to tell the immigration officer, that you have made a mistake. And if you don't feel like you're in control, if the immigration officer feels that you're not competent as an interpreter, then you're going to get dismissed. So that's one of the things that, as an interpreter, you have to read a lot. Reading really helps you tremendously. Watching the news. Honestly, that's one of the things that really helps you, even for when you take your test. Any kind of reading really helps tremendously, because the more you read, the more you expand your vocabulary, the more knowledge you acquire, and then you'll be more well prepared for when you take your test. You'll feel more in control. So that's pretty much in terms of the the levels of different kinds of interpreters that there are out there: medical interpreters, administrative interpreters, court interpreters. Also, let's see, the market rates in terms of money. Money is pretty good in this industry when you work independently. As far as I know, when you get a full-time job at a superior court, I think they start paying about around $80,000 a year plus benefits as a full-time employee. When once you become certified and you want to work for the superior court, they pay about $85,000 a year plus benefits. So if that is what you want to do, which many of my former classmates are doing now, they're working as employees, at some of the superior courts in Los Angeles and even here in Orange County, that's great. If you want to work independently, let's say you want to make more money and you want to be more financially independent, then you can establish your own rates. And that's one of the amazing things as a certified court interpreter who works as a freelancer. You can establish your own rates. And I think I shared some of the numbers with you guys before. And I'm going to share some numbers with you now, so that way you have an idea of how much money you will be making as an interpreter, because a lot of interpreters do not want to talk about, numbers. For some reason, they are afraid to say, oh, you know what, I charge $200 or $350 or $500 or $100. But that's reality. And I really struggle a lot, because when I became an interpreter, I had my license already. And I was like, how much am I supposed to charge? No one really is guiding me. So if no one really gives you any guidance, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you can either be charging too much, and that's going to put you in disadvantage, in comparison to other interpreters, or you can be charging too little. So they're going to be calling you a lot. But just because you're working a lot doesn't mean you're making good money or enough money. So that's something that you have to know in this case. Once you become certified and you have your certification, and now you're going to be working as an interpreter, then you have to know exactly how much money you can charge. Now, here are the numbers. I explained this to you guys before, that we interpreters do not charge per hour. Okay, we go for like half day and full day. Okay, so a half day for us is from 0 to 3 hours. So let's say an agency calls you, okay, and many people are going to be calling you every single day, because there is a lot of work for interpreters who are certified. So an agency calls you, let's say today is Monday, it's after 7 p.m. So somebody will be calling you and tell you, hey, I need an interpreter for a deposition tomorrow in Newport Beach, and you live in the Santa Ana area. Okay, so you're available. Yes, I'm available. All right, so how much do you charge? Well, right now, interpreters are charging between $180, $175, $165. Some of them charge even up to $200 for a half day. Okay, so let's say you're going to charge $175. Okay, so you're one of those that do not charge too much and do not charge too little. Out of those $175, the agency is supposed to pay you, you're supposed to charge for mileage. After 25 miles, okay, so after 25 miles, we charge per mileage. So since you're gonna, you're in the city of Santa Ana, you're gonna be covering your assignment, your deposition in Newport Beach, that's not more than 25 miles. So in this case, you won't be charging for mileage. But in Newport Beach, almost every law office in the city of Irvine in Newport Beach, almost every law office that you go to, you have to pay for parking fees. And parking is expensive. It goes up to $20, $25, $18, $15. So let's say you pay $15, for parking. So you don't want to pay out of your money, because then you're not making enough money. You want to charge your rate because you're charging for your interpreting services. You're a certified court interpreter, okay? So you charge for your deposition, and then on top of that, the agency is supposed to compensate for mileage fees and parking fees. So you add 175 plus 15, that's $195, okay? That's how much money you're gonna be billing to the agency. $195 for a half day. Now, half day is up to 3 hours, but let's say the deposition, and this really happens a lot. You were hired for a half day. The deposition lasted 3 hours and 25 minutes, to give you an example. That's more than 3 hours, right? So obviously that's not a half day anymore. That's a full day. So The agency is obligated to pay you a full day rate. So in this case, full day, you just double the number. 175 plus 175 is 300 and about $350, right? See, I'm bad with numbers, guys. So hold on, my dad is gonna do the math for me. So yeah, $350. So the deposition ends lasted 3 hours and 25 minutes. Okay, so since it went over the 3 hours and you're charging $350 plus the parking fee, you don't want to pay any fees out of your money. This is just for your interpreting services. The agency, which is the one that is is making money out of you, they're supposed to compensate for that fee. So it's $350 plus $15 for the parking. So you're going to be charging $365. That's how much money you're going to be charging to the agency. Okay. And in this industry, we already know that when the deposition goes over the 3 hours, you don't even have to call the agency and say, hey, the deposition is going to go over the 3 hours, so you have to pay me a full day. You don't have to do that because you don't want to interrupt the deposition. Attorneys do not like when you're interrupting. So you just keep going. In this industry, we already know that if it goes over the 3 hours, then it's a full day. So you just call them at the end of the deposition. You tell them, okay, the depo went over the 3 hours. This is the end time. So, I'm going to bill you for a full day. Perfect. Plus the parking fee. So you always have to keep your receipt, that the machine gives you at the parking lot, so you can charge for all of that. But let's say the deposition, same scenario, but the deposition was not in Newport Beach. It was in Los Angeles. And from Santa Ana to Los Angeles, let's say it's 40 miles one way. All right, so 40 miles one way plus 40 miles coming back, we're talking about 80 miles. So 80 miles, and then you do the math. I think right now we charge 56 cents according to the IRS standards. Okay, so 50 cents per mile. So this is how we're gonna do it. So now you went to a depot in Los Angeles. Usually deposition in Los Angeles, really, the depositions last more than 3 hours. So how much is for 80 miles? So we're gonna do the math. So realistically, you know how much money you're gonna be making once you have your license, okay? So you go to Los Angeles, deposition lasted almost 3 hours. That's a full day. So it's $350 plus $44.80 because you're going in mileage. This is for the mileage. So you're gonna do the math. Remember, it's 40, you just do the math, in this case, let's say it's 40 miles going to Los Angeles, 40 miles coming back, it's 80 miles. So in money, you're gonna be charging $44.80 plus the parking fees, because in Los Angeles, parking is quite expensive. So let's say you're paying $25 for parking. So now we're gonna do the math. $350 plus $44.80 plus $25. And the number is, let's see, we're gonna do the math here. 350 plus $44.80 plus $25. We're talking about $419 with 80 cents. Okay, that is how much money you're gonna be making for less than 4 hours of work. Now, when you become an interpreter, people will want you to work for them only if you are reliable. That means that you always look nice when you go to work. You have to look presentable, you have to look professional, you have to be nice to people, you have to be on time. Nothing like, oh, the interpreter, everybody's here, the interpreter is late, we don't know where he is. You don't want to do that, because then you start creating a bad reputation for yourself and people won't be calling you anymore, and people are going to be talking really bad things about you as an interpreter, because they'll be like, that interpreter is not reliable. So you want to create, this is your own business. You want to have a good reputation, and trust me, people are going to love you and people are going to be calling you a lot. So right now, you know, in less than 4 hours, you made $419 with 80 cents. Okay. Because mileage, your car is going to start wearing off, like all the, the mileage on your car and stuff. So you don't want to pay for that. They have to pay for all of that. Parking fees also, they have to pay for all of that, because remember, the agencies are making money out of you. So you're going to be coming back home, and, agencies know that you're a certified court interpreter. Now somebody calls you and say, hey, I do have another deposition. You can schedule 2 depositions a day. Okay. So even if one depo goes over the 3 hours, you can still do another depo, because if the deposition starts at 10 a.m., your morning deposition starts at 10 a.m. by law, and they only hired you for a half day, by law, you have to stay there until 1 p.m. But let's say the depo goes over, time, and you stay there until 1:20 p.m. Okay, that's a full day depo. But you also have a deposition at 2 o'clock. And you have to learn how to manage your time and your business. If you're going to be in Los Angeles, maybe you want to get another deposition for the 2 p.m. in the Los Angeles area, so you can go to your next deposition. That's how I work things out in this business. Same here in Orange County. So you go to your 2 p.m. depo because you like working hard and you want to make good money. So you go to your next depo, and your next depo lasted only 2 hours. Okay, well then you charge $175. Now if you add $419 with 80 cents plus $175, we are talking about $594 a day. And this is realistically speaking. I'm not just talking, like giving you false hopes and stuff. This is how much money you can make for, less than 8 hours a day of work. So we're talking about $594 with, let's say $600. So that's how and you charge, and it's like that for legal documents also. What time is it? It's okay. So you same thing for legal documents. You charge per word. I charge about 25 cents per word, 22 cents per word. So as certified court interpreters, guys, really you can make plenty of money. You can make hundreds of dollars a day. Interpreting. And if you really are, someday you open your own agency, you have your own clients, you'll be making probably, I don't know, $1,000 a day, over $1,000 a day. So this is how you charge as an interpreter. But remember, mileage and parking fees has to come out of the agency. Some agencies can be tricky with the new ones. So remember this, when you're new in this business and you have a license, don't let people take advantage of you, okay? Take that from me. No one really told me the things I'm sharing with you right now, and some agencies took advantage of me. But then I learned, I was like, this is not the way it is. A certified court interpreter is someone valuable, and they need your services. If you don't take their job, the agency probably won't find anyone else, and they won't be able to make money. So you have to tell them, yes, I'll take the assignment, but just keep in mind that I charge for parking fees, and I also charge for mileage fees if it applies. Why? Because when they know that you're a new interpreter, they know and they think that you're desperate for money. And they will say, okay, how much do you charge? And you'll tell them, no, I charge, let's say by then you will be charging $200, for a half day. And they will tell you, well, you have to pay mileage and parking fee out of that, because we don't compensate for mileage and we don't compensate for parking fees. Do not take those assignments, because they will be taking advantage of you. Okay, so they pay for those fees. You make your money for those $200 or $350, whatever. It's only for your interpreting services only. Okay, that's pretty much how it works. And let's see, as time goes by, you will be creating more and more experience. Okay, at the beginning, you're gonna feel like a fish out of water when you're doing a deposition, when you're standing in front of the judge and you're doing a trial. You'll feel very nervous probably, okay? So, but that's not gonna be forever. You know, one day you're gonna feel very comfortable doing this because it's very repetitive, very repetitive. It's pretty much the same thing, you know? So over time, you know, as the months or the years go by, you're gonna be, you know, you're gonna be cultivating more and more experience. People are gonna start liking you because, you know, you'll be reliable. And that's how you create your own business. And let me tell you something really quick before I finish. Even with this pandemic, okay, there is work. You know, I've been working pretty much every single day doing depositions, translating documents. So, you know, take that from me. You know, as a certified court interpreter, I can tell you that you're not going to be, I'm not sitting at home. I mean, today I worked pretty much all day. I had 4 assignments. I had to give one of those assignments to one of my interpreters because I couldn't cover the 4 assignments myself. So, yeah, there is work even under this, you know, COVID-19 pandemic. When you have a license as a certified court interpreter, they will always need your services. You know, and even now with this pandemic, a certified court interpreter is someone valuable. You know, and the legal system cannot put on hold all those cases for who knows how long. You know, they have to move on with the depositions. They're desperate right now. So yeah, even under this pandemic, there is work. There is work. If you strive, you know, to get your license, you know, you're going to have work. So I know, you know, right now things are discouraging. A lot of people are moving on with fear, and I don't blame them. You know, circumstances are not so favorable right now. But just remember this. This is worth it. This is a very nice career. You're going to be making plenty of money to have a comfortable life, and it's fantastic. So keep using your you know, bilingual skills, sharpen your bilingual skills, strive to get certified, and remember my words, it's going to be worth it. You won't regret it. Okay, so that's all I have to say.
This is awesome. Thank you. And our class goes till 8:30, but we just, you know, you're a special guest, so you could take as much time as you want. I do know that students are already asking questions. Are you able to see the chat? I have some questions too, but I'm going to give them preference.
Let's see.
From Ramon, he has a question.
Okay, what is his question?
What is passing score? What was the average passing score in your case?
When I took my test, about 6 years ago, I would say. Passing score was 70%, and I think it's still 70%. So real quick, I'm gonna explain this in less than 2 minutes. The oral examination is made up of 4 components, which is the simultaneous component, the consecutive component. It also includes the English and Spanish translation, side translation, and Spanish to English. Okay, so you have to pass the 4 of them. It's the 4 components, and the passing score is 70%. So if you score 69 at one of them, no matter how much you got into, you know, for the other 3, you're going to fail the test. It has to be 70% or more for you to pass your oral examination. Okay, so that's yeah, that's.
And I know right now you mentioned that there's a lot of work even though the courts are closed. How are you doing the depositions? Are you doing them over the phone?
We're doing depositions over the phone via Zoom. So you know, just like right now, like with you guys, I log into Zoom, and then I see the attorneys, and I hear their voices, and they ask questions to the deponent or the applicant. I interpret, they see me, they hear my voice, and it's like if we were doing the deposition in a conference room. Yeah, it's exactly the same way.
So is this for mostly Orange County, or for other counties that you're doing this deposition?
For other counties, I am listed on the master list. I'm one of the interpreters who, you know, I listed Orange County as my main area, and then Los Angeles and Riverside County.
Mhm.
But right now with the pandemic, some attorneys are in San Diego, some others are, like some depots are, I mean, people are all over the place because they're doing the deposition from home. So yeah, but when I go to the law offices, mainly Orange County and Los Angeles. Orange County and Los Angeles have a lot of work, a lot. It really has a lot of work. So you don't really need to go like San Bernardino or San Diego. You don't need to do that. There is a lot of work here.
I was under the impression right now, I went on the court, well, for the Riverside, San Bernardino County, not Riverside. I was under the impression since the courts are closed that there's no filing of documents right now, but what you're saying is that there's still depositions going and that they're still probably doing e-filing?
Yeah, well, there is criminal and there is civil.
Okay,
And
I see.
the courts are open, not to the public, but they're open. For instance,
Got
workers'
you.
compensation. The workers' compensation appeals boards are open, not to the public, but to the attorneys. So we
Got
do
you.
the depositions via Zoom. Everything is done remotely. So the attorneys go to the appeals board and they bring the documents to the judge, and then the judge approves or disapproves the documents. The judge studies the documents, okay? So, but yeah, the superior courts and the workers' compensation appeals boards are still open. Mhm.
And I think you mentioned too that right now with the pandemic, you were doing some medical interpreting as well.
With the I haven't really done so well. I'm actually afraid to go to the medical clinics, but we've got some medical assignments.
Okay.
But I farm them out to other interpreters because I really don't want to do it myself. And some interpreters are so willing to go to the medical clinics. But yeah, we've got some medical assignments,
Assignments.
and my
Okay.
specialty is mainly, I mean, I love doing medical.
Mhm.
We get because we have an agency, so I focus mainly on doing depositions, doing immigration, workers' comp, civil cases. That's what I focus on mainly. But I do love medical assignments. I really, really do, going to medical offices and interpreting for people who are sick and stuff. Yeah, I like doing that also. But right now, there's a lot of depositions, a lot of legal work.
So I have a question here from student Jessica Gonzalez. She said, when do you start charging for your services? When you walk out the door, or when you leave your, when you walk in the door for them, or when you leave your house?
That's a really good question, and I forgot to mention this to you guys before. Remember when I told you that if somebody, the agency calls you 1 day in advance, 2 days in advance, or a week before, we apply certified court interpreters. We apply the 24-hour cancellation fee. For instance, you start charging from the moment number one, if the assignment cancels, okay, let's say they hired your services today for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., but they cancel today at 5 o'clock, you still charge for that half day or full day without going to work. And you start charging from the moment you walk into the law office. If they tell you the deposition is going to start at 10 a.m., okay, you arrive, and then let's say you arrive at 9:45. You're not going to charge, your time from 9:45. You charge from the time they told you the deposition was going to start. And 95% of the time, the depots do not start on time. We start until 10:20, 10:30, 11 a.m., 11:15. So, but you start charging from the moment they told you the depot was going to start. And the end time is what they put on the record. What the court reporter puts on the record, the end time is, let's say, 1 o'clock or 1:20 p.m. That is the end time. So you charge from the moment they told you the depot was going to start, from the moment the deposition ends.
Okay.
To the moment
All right. And also from a student in the Valley, all the way in the San Fernando Valley, Miranda says, would you recommend any particular study materials, any books, anything to help him prepare? He's preparing for the court interpreter examination, and I know he's perhaps hoping to take it in the next year, right?
Good, good. That's really good.
Wishful thinking.
Well, there are books. There are books that you can study. I have some books. There's a company that sells some books, and you can buy them online. There are certain courses you can buy, and there is also well, this school in Santa Fe Springs, which is where I went, for my preparation for the test, and you have to focus on the legal terms. That's pretty much where you have to focus on. There are certain, like keywords that they're gonna be using on the test, and those keywords really count a lot because there are certain words that have more points on the test than others. So there are books that you can purchase online. There is this school in Santa Fe Springs where you can buy your books, and you can, not just the books, but they also sell you like a CD or something, so you can study, things on the computer, so you can practice your speed, you can practice your, you can check on your accuracy of your interpretation. So that helps a lot. And really, reading, guys, helps a lot. You have to read as much as you can. Doesn't mean that you have to sit and read for the next, like every 3 or 4 hours a day, not like that. But if you can just keep consistency with your reading, that honestly, that gives you a lot of confidence when you go for your test. Really does.
Okay, and on that same lines, I know that one of our other students is asking, you already answered what kind of materials books. I know some of them are the CIVO, the Interpreter's Companion, the CIVO materials.
Yes, right. That's one of those books. That's one of the books that I studied myself, and also the books from the school in Santa Fe Springs. Those two books, the ones from Santa Fe Springs and the ones from Placebo, they really helped tremendously. Now I see that Ingrid is asking me, what is the name of the school in Santa Fe Springs? It's cool. It's called Southern California School of Interpretation. That's the name of the school.
Do they sell books to non-students from there? Do they sell those books?
I think they do. I really think they do. That they sell books to those students, and you can ask them. If they say no, we don't sell those books to the students, I can share some of my books with you, or I can even help you guys to obtain some of those books, since I'm one of the former students from Southern California School of Interpretation. But I'm pretty sure they will sell you the books, because Mr. Wagner is pretty, he likes helping people. So he's going to sell you the books. I don't think he's going to say no to it.
And I know that on that same line, someone was saying a study guide. The only study guide that we have listed is the one from the actual third party that Promerica that does the testing. And it's under the Judicial Council, and they'd only have some sample questions. So we don't have anything besides that. I know that one of the students said, where can she get a study guide for the test? So we do have the self-assessment from the Judicial Council, and then the Promerica study guide. That's about it that we have. But we are going to be reaching out to you and Margarita, our instructor for the legal terminology, because we do plan to do more prep sessions for the students so that we can help them prepare for the examinations.
Yes, yes.
There's also another question. Can you see it in the chat from student Tomas Ocampo, right above Ingrid, the one that you just read?
Let's see, Tomas Ocampo. How long it took to be certified, and did ever expect would get this far in life? What was your worst experience that ever happened to you on job, and what you recommend study? The worst experience well, I have to tell you first the worst experience I had as a student when I was in the same circumstances as you guys. So this is gonna give you a lot of hope, okay? A lot of people think that I'm a great interpreter. That's where a lot of attorneys say, and even my father has heard how the attorneys compliment my interpreting skills. But when I was attending school, Mr. Wagner in Santa Fe Springs gave us a mock examination, okay? And I think it was like 60, I'm giving an approximation. It was like 60, 70 students in the classroom, and he gave us a mock exam to see the level of our knowledge, you know, as interpreters, and if we were ready for the test, because we were like about half a year away from the test. And then, so we took the mock exam, and then the next week, he began giving results to a lot of the students, and he forgot about me, and he walked out of the classroom. And then I followed him, you know, and then I said, Mr. Wagner. He said, yes. And then I said, what about my results? And then he looked at me, he said, you were the worst. You occupied the third place from the bottom to the top, and there were like 60 or 70 students. He said, your score was really bad. If you were to take the test today, you would have failed badly. And I was like, I was very discouraged. They really broke my heart a lot. And then he said, your consecutive skills are really bad, really, really bad. So you have to really work hard on that if you want to take the test. And I think we were 5 or 6 months away from the test. And then I came home and I was feeling sad and depressed for about 3 days. And then I recovered from my sadness and my depression. I said, all right, so I need to focus on the consecutive. Because the rest of the other techniques, you know, like side translation from English to Spanish, Spanish to English, and also the simultaneous, I was doing pretty good on those, you know, in those areas. But the consecutive technique was really bad for me, really, really bad. And I practiced a lot to the point that when I think we were 2 or 3 months away from the test, we took another mock exam, and Mr. Wagner, I remember that I had a panic attack during that examination. In the middle of the exam, I came down with an anxiety attack. And then I began running out of like oxygen, and I told Mr. Wagner, we need to stop right now, and I need to walk out of the building because I'm feeling sick. And he said, why? I said, because I know that I'm doing really bad. He said, no, he said, you already passed it. If this was the actual test, you know, you would have already passed. So you're doing great. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it only took me about 3 months, I would say, you know, to really improve my consecutive technique. So that can give you a lot of hope, because I was bad with the consecutive to the point that Mr. Wagner didn't even bother to give me my results. So 3 months later, 4 months later, I was doing fantastic.
Persistent and discipline. Outstanding. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And also about the job, my worst experience on the job. Let me think. Let's see. I've never had any bad experience as an interpreter. To be honest with you guys, I've always received compliments from the attorneys. One day I was, and I have to speak the truth. One day I was, one of the attorneys got upset with me. This was in the city of Newport Beach, because I was using I don't remember if I was using my cell phone or my tablet. I was checking something, but my interpretation was great. It's just that I wasn't looking at the attorney's face. I was looking down because I was doing something with my cell phone, and he didn't like that. And he called me into his office when we finished. We walked out of the conference room, and he told me, he's like, I don't want you to be doing this. He said, I do not want you to be using your cell phone or your tablet when you're doing working in my office, doing my depositions. And I totally understood. And I said, I am so sorry. I said, I will never do it again. And he even told me, he said, you're a great interpreter. He gave me a compliment. He said, you're a great interpreter. I just don't like you doing this. I said, I'm so sorry. And yeah, he corrected me. I think I would say that it's not really bad. I mean, it was embarrassing, but you know, now that I have a lot more experience, and I'm like, absolutely, he was right. But he didn't correct it was not about me as an interpreter. It's just that I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to do. But I don't recall at this time anything.
One attorney argued with you about your translation of a word.
Oh yeah, my dad, it just reminded me of something, because my dad actually helps me with the law offices and the attorneys. Yes, I have to relate something to you. About, I think it was in 2019, about 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago, I had a deposition in the city of, I think it was the city of Orange. So to make a long story short, I walked into the conference room. because we always have defense attorney. Defense is the one that that is defending the when it is a workers' comp case. The defense attorney is the one that is defending the company. In this case, let's say Walmart, right? And the applicant attorney is the one that defends the employee, the one who's suing the company. So the applicant attorney was not a friendly person, okay? So I was doing my interpretation, and then I said defense attorney asked a question to the applicant. I gave my interpretation, and the applicant attorney, who's not a nice person, but now he's almost like, I can say we're friends. That was the very first time we worked together. He objected in a very nasty way to my interpretation. He said, I have to correct the interpreter. That's not the right, translation for this specific word. And to be honest with you, I don't remember the word, but I do remember that I said to the attorney, okay, I never argue with the attorneys. I said, okay, counsel, I said, well, as far as I know, that's the correct interpretation for this translation for this word. And he said, no, that is incorrect, but he was being rude. And then I said, okay, I said, well, tell me why. And then he said, because I was raised at in a Hispanic, household, and my parents didn't use that word for that, for this English word. I know that this is not the right interpretation. And then I said, well, counsel, with all due respect, I'm a certified court interpreter. I don't know if your parents went to college, or well, in this case, university in Mexico, if they are from Mexico. I said, but I went to school in Mexico. I went to school in the United States. I became a certified court interpreter here. And that is I've always known that that's the only word for this, English word. That's the only translation that I can use. But if you know any other, then I'm going to say on the record that based on your knowledge, because later on, if somebody says, well, the interpreter was incorrect, I want them to know that this was your idea. This was your interpretation of the word, not mine. Good. And he was very upset, and he was rude to me. We both ignored him, me and the defense attorney. And then months later, we worked together again. And then I made a comment, actually, which I should have never done. And I made a comment about how nasty he was with me the previous time we worked together. And he overheard my comments. He was standing right behind me, and I did not see the attorney standing right behind me. And he said, I heard what you just said. And well, I'm a man. I had to tell him, well, counsel, I'm sorry, but that's where I'm speaking the truth, because I was relating to the court reporter how nasty he was with me, the previous months we worked together. And then he said, I heard what you just said. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I'm speaking the truth. And I was looking into his eyes, and I thought he was going to turn out to be like, like he was going to make it into a fight or something. No, he was actually very friendly, very, very friendly. And, now we worked in peace with each other. So I can tell you that that's the worst experience I've ever had. Yeah.
But you have to go from the terminology that you've been taught and that it's already accepted in the courts, correct?
Absolutely. Now, one thing I can tell you is that when you're in court, don't be afraid of judges. I know in the past, I would always hear people saying, oh, I'm afraid to work with the judge. The judge will never, even if you make a mistake, the judge will never scream or yell or humiliate you in front of the jury or in front of everyone. He will never do that. And this is even better for you guys to know that if an attorney challenges your interpretation in court, the judge always tells the attorney, counsel, are you a certified court interpreter? No, Your Honor, I'm not, but my mom and my dad raised me speaking Spanish. Well, it doesn't matter to me. He is the expert, and now if you have an objection, you have to wait until we finish today. So the judge will never put you on the spot. That I can tell you. I've done many, many legal cases in the Los Angeles area. I've done criminal cases. I mean, cases that are very, very, serious cases. And one attorney one day, he objected to my interpretation in front of the judge. We were in front of the jury. This was a criminal case. And I was like, oh, in my head, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be bad. And the judge said to the attorney, counsel, are you a certified court interpreter? No, Your Honor. And he was going to give his explanation. He said, then be quiet and let the interpreter to continue with his job. If you have something to say, wait until we finish. That's what he said.
Awesome.
Yes, and I remember another occasion when I was at the appeals board is where they handle the workers' compensation cases in Santa Ana. An attorney was upset because I don't know, I did something, and she was frustrated with the defense attorney, and she wanted to take it out on me, and she wanted to criticize me. And I do remember that the judge took that attorney into the chambers, and she was yelling at the attorney because she wanted to take her frustration out on me. And when the attorney came out, she was all nice and friendly with me, very nice and very friendly. Yeah, so
Those are great
judges will
stories.
always be on your side unless you do something really bad or you're unprofessional or you're saying something completely out of place. That's when probably the judge will tell you something. But I've never, as an interpreter, I've never had any bad experiences with the judges themselves ever.
Those are great stories. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. What else?
Right below Ingrid, Maria Lujano.
When a depot is canceled without a notification, what exactly do we charge? You charge exactly the same as if you had done the deposition. Remember, I told you guys before, we apply the 24-hour cancellation fee. If somebody called me today at, let's say, 3 p.m. for a deposition for tomorrow, and they hired me for a half day or full day, either one, let's say a half day, tomorrow at 10 a.m. They canceled today at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you charge for the deposition because we apply the 24-hour cancellation fee. So you were gonna charge $175 for for the depot. You charge those $175, and this is how you make really good money. Like, and I do this a lot. That if they cancel, then you take work from another agency. You go and you cover that assignment, and you charge for that other depot. So you charge for your late cancellation, and you also charge for the depot that you charge. I mean, you covered in the morning, obviously, because the first one was canceled, and then you do your 2 p.m. deposition as well. So it's like doing 3 depots. You're charging for 3 depots, but you're only doing 2 because one of them was a late cancellation. So you always charge. Same thing if they hire you for a full day. They tell you, hey, I have a full day tomorrow in court. How much do you charge? Well, $350 plus parking fees plus mileage. Obviously, in this case, if it is a late cancellation, you're not charging for mileage and parking fees because you're not driving to the deposition. You're not getting to the parking lot. Okay, you're only charging for your fee, your interpreting fees. So if they hired you for a full day, you charge for $350, $400, whatever your fees may be for a full day. And you have the beauty is that you have the advantage of taking work from other agencies that will cover that full day. So if you were hired for a full day, you charge your $350 or $400. You still get 1 or 2 depots, and you charge for those because you had a late cancellation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that. Also, another student is saying, after you get certified, how long until you actually start working and making good money?
After you get certified, it depends on how much. I mean, you have to be proactive, and you have to. Usually, the agencies know because your name will be listed on the master list. So the agencies, when they're desperate, they go onto the master list and they start looking for the interpreters who cover the area where they have the deposition or the case, whatever, the legal case. But you have to call agencies and you have to tell them, hey, I'm a certified court interpreter. Let me know if you have work for me. In my case, for me to start getting all the work that I wanted to get, working 2 hours, I mean, two or 3 assignments a day, every single day. I think it took about 2 to 3 months for me to start getting a lot of work, like a lot of work. But agencies were calling me a little bit, not so much the first 2 or 3 months, but you have to call them. You have to, you have to promote your business because you are your own business, and you have to tell them, hey, I'm a certified court interpreter, and let me know if you have something for me. And they will. Oh, absolutely, they will start calling you, and you will have a lot of work. So if you don't get enough work the first few weeks or the first few months, I'm going to tell you what my father told me.
enjoy your time, because then, once they know who you are and you prove to be a reliable interpreter, they will be calling you like crazy. Like, honestly, like, you're gonna have a lot of work to the point that you're gonna cry out of frustration, and you'll be making really good money.
Awesome, thank you. Also, another question from Maria Lujano. Student says, is asking, what is the process to become a federal court interpreter?
That's a different course you have to take. You have to go to school and, all over again. And just like what you're doing right now, you take certain classes, you take certain courses, and then you take the written exam, for federal interpreting. And then once you pass a written exam, then that gives you the green light for the oral examinations. So it's pretty much the same process as when you want to get certified for.
Yes, and we will be covering the requirements for the federal court interpreter in our legal modules coming up in about 2 weeks. I have a question. Actually, I have two questions.
Yes.
I mentioned to the
really,
students that,
hold on, Lillian, just before
yes.
I forget, I just want to mention something
Yes.
real quick. Federal is good. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you, oh, don't go for it. No, go for it, because the more knowledge you have in this life, the better. I just want to tell you something, and I'm speaking realistically, okay? As a federal interpreter, you can charge more money. However, in this area where we live here in Southern California, Orange County, LA County, there is very little federal work. Most 90% of the work we have as interpreters is with the state. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you are a federal interpreter. I'm a state interpreter, okay? Your certification is higher than mine. But agencies in this area, 99% of the agencies are looking for a state interpreter, not a federal interpreter. So obviously, since you went to school longer than me, you studied harder than me, when an agency calls you, you will tell them, oh, you know what? I'm a federal interpreter. So for a deposition, I'm going to charge you $300 for a half day. All right. However, Omar, which in this case me, I'll tell them, you know what? I'm state interpreter. So I'll charge you $200 or $180 for a half day. Now, you are at a disadvantage compared to everybody else, because as an agency, they'll go, okay, if Omar is a reliable interpreter, and he works nicely, he charges a lot less than the federal interpreter, why would I get a federal interpreter for this workers' compensation case? Now, this is only here in Southern California. But if you go to places like New York City, Washington, D.C., Boston, in Massachusetts, then you're going to get a lot more federal work over there. But in this area, I can tell you that if you are a federal interpreter, you're not really going to be making a lot of money out of it, because you will always have to lower your rates to the level of other interpreters who are state certified, so you can be so you can have work, so you can make money. Because if you charge your federal rates, they're going to be using only for federal cases, and you probably won't be getting a lot of work. Yeah. So
also, now that you mentioned the competitiveness of the business, I know more and more the Judicial Council has been looking at ways to recruit more people. I know there's still a shortage in California. Last year, they did a pilot program with 3 courts, one in Sacramento. I believe the other one was in Ventura, trying to see how they could use Spanish certified interpreters to work over the phone via remotely. So why do you think, or what can the Judicial Council do? Why is there such a big shortage of certified interpreters?
Well, a lot of people are struggling to get certified. I think that perhaps something that I've always noticed ever since I came to the United States, and I'll be, honest with you guys, many people, I feel that they don't want to use their bilingual skills, because they think that, oh, a lot of people do not know how much money they can make out of their bilingual skills. So there is a lot of work in the legal system, a lot of work. So, but there, we don't have enough interpreters. So number one, it's not that easy to get certified. I'm not saying that is impossible, but you have to really, like, you have to dedicate yourself, you know. And on the other side, we have so many cases compared to how many interpreters we have. Interpreters who are certified. So what I can tell you is that there is a lot more work than we can handle, a lot more. So,
and I know the requirement, one of the requirements once you do get certified by the Judicial Council is to continue with professional development. What do you do? How do you keep up with that? Like, do you take anything online, or what is that requirement, and how do you handle that?
yes, that is also a good question, Lillian. Once you get your certification, you have to do the continuing education, and you have to, every 2 years, you have to renew your license. Okay. So, like, for instance, in my case right now, I have to renew my license by December 31st, 2020, which is by the end of this year. So you have to gather, according to the Judicial Council, you have to gather 40 legal cases that you have to do during those 2 years, because you have to renew your license every 2 years. So obviously, as an certified court interpreter, you're going to be making a lot more cases than, you know, a lot more than 40 cases in 2 years. Perhaps you'll be making 40 per month. So that, you know, in that case, you won't have any problems. And you have to list the names of those cases. You have to list the number, the ADJ number, what they call the ADJ number, and the name of the law office or the name of the deponent. So you make your list, and also you have to gather certain units. The units is when you go to, when you take courses, when you take seminars. I think it's about 35 to 40 units. And I think they give you, it's 1 unit per hour or something like that. So what I do is that usually I go to a 3-day seminar, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's like, I don't know, like 8-9 hours a day. And that gives me pretty much all of the units I need. It's something like that. I have to count exactly, because sometimes you go to a seminar that lasts 6 hours and they give you like 4 units. Then you have to go to another one that lasts 5 hours and they give you like 6 units or 3 units. And that's how you can do it little by little. In my case, I just prefer to go, 3 full days, and then I gather all of my units. So you gather your units by going to a seminar. You have to pay for the seminar. It's not for free, but you're going to be making plenty of money to pay for it. So I think it's like, I don't know, when I pay for my seminars, like $200 or $300, something like that, $350. I don't even remember. But it's, it's a couple $100 that you pay for the seminar. And also you have to pay a $100 fee to renew your license. So you're going to be spending, I don't know, $500-$600 to renew your license every 2 years.
Now, are the continuing education units, do they have to be within a particular field, or you can pick and choose?
Well, there are actually, there are interpreters and agencies and companies that specialize in giving those seminars, and they're always in regards to legal terms.
Okay.
Sometimes idioms, slangs, legal terminology, things like that.
So it's within your same industry, the same topic?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
They
Okay.
give you names of drugs and names of weapons and things like that, because you use those in courts when you're doing criminal cases. You use those a lot of things related to drugs and weapons and things like the cartel and stuff, like
Okay.
Chapo Guzman and things like that.
I think I'm going to do 3 more questions from students, and then we'll
Sure.
wrap it up. Someone just mentioned that if this is off topic, but since your last name is Brady, he wants to know if you're a Patriots fan.
No, actually, I'm not. My adopted dad, his last name is Brady, and he's not even into sports. So no, I'm not. I'm sorry, guys, to disappoint. I'm not into
Okay,
sports.
so anyways, regarding the school that you went to, we know that that's a private school. So because of the low passing rate, they can guarantee that you will pass the exam. I know someone is asking. I had other students that went to the Santa Fe, and then now they're coming back after they did not pass. So I don't know if that answers your question, Tere, because she's saying, how much does the school you went in Santa Fe, how much does it cost to attend, and do they guarantee you will pass the court exam?
Well, there is no guarantee actually, guys. I mean, you can go to any school. You can go to Santa Ana College or UCLA, because I know UCLA also offers interpreting program, or you can go to Santa Fe Springs. There is no guarantee. It depends on how much you apply yourself. You know, it all depends on you. Um, for instance, in my case, I only went to school with in Santa Fe Springs with Mr. Wagner only for about a year and a half or so. It was not more than 2 years. It was about a year and a half. And and I remember that many of my classmates had been attending school for 3 years, 4 years, 2.5 years, 5 years. I had a classmate who actually took the oral examination 15 times.
My goodness.
15 times. But I mean, it's all, and most of those students, had been in this country probably longer than me. So it depends on how badly you want to achieve something. So yeah, that I can tell you that it doesn't have to do with this. It has nothing to do with the school probably. Um, it has to, or your age or whatever, it has to do with your, if you have plan, in terms of, how much you want to prepare for your test and how badly you want to pass your test, then you'll be able to do it. Absolutely. And just because you've been attending school for 3 years doesn't mean you're going to pass. Or just because you've been attending school for 1 year doesn't mean you're not going to pass. It's all about you. It all depends on your intelligence and your dedication and your efforts.
Well, you're definitely a great inspiration and a role model.
Thank you.
We
Thank you, Lydia.
appreciate everything that you share with the students. Someone is asking if you're working on your own as an interpreter, your own business, how would you do your taxes? I guess this would be depending, because I'm also a business consultant. If you're doing it as a freelancer, would this be as a 1099 or as an owner, sole proprietorship? It just depends.
Yeah, I have my own agency, and my father is the one who helps me with all the he and the tax lady, they're the ones who take care of the taxes. But as far as I know, I have to pay taxes every 4 months. When you
Quarterlies.
yeah, quarterly, because when you make certain amount of money, you can't wait until the end of the year. The federal government wants you to file your taxes every 4 months. So that's how we do. That's how I do my taxes under a 1099, and it's every 4 months that I have to pay for my taxes. Mhm.
Well, I thank you again, Omar. I don't know if you'd like to have any closing comments. I think we took care pretty much of all the questions. Their students are saying thank you. They feel very honored. Thank you so much for having you up above when you started. And thank you for all the information. I know some of them already were present in your previous presentation, and they were very excited to see you come back. We know you always have something different to share. Definitely, you're a great model and inspiration. Are there any closing, anything you'd like to say?
Just that continue with this career, guys. I know, like I said at the beginning, times are difficult right now, but it's easy to get discouraged. This is a beautiful, beautiful career, and it's not going to fall apart because of the coronavirus, or because, I mean, people would have to really, like millions of us would have to die in order for, to say, oh, there is no work, and that's not going to happen. I mean, that's going to the extremes, but there is work. Okay, so I'm telling you, I have not been, well, I've been sitting at my house because I work from home now, but I've been busy working. I've been busy making money, translating documents, doing depositions, things like that. So please, continue going with your studies. Do not give up. This is worth it. It really, really is. I know it's not easy right now, and perhaps it has never been easy for you guys. But one thing I can tell you, once you get licensed, it's going to transform your life. It's not just going to change your life, but it's going to transform your life. Okay. Whether you want to work as an employee, saying, okay, I want to make sure that I, have $80,000 as an income, or 85,000, whatever, they pay, or saying, oh, I want to make a lot more money than that. Whatever, you're going to have a lot of work. That I can tell you. So don't give up. Continue with your studies. Continue going to school, taking your classes online right now because of the virus, and just be strong, because there is a great need for interpreters. There is a great need for interpreters, and I know that when you go get a regular job, usually those jobs, when you go to a company, they want, work for a company, they want you to use your bilingual skills. Well, here you can use your bilingual skills as well, and you're going to be paid a lot more. And you're going to, interpreters are valuable. They're valuable in the legal field. So it's the way also they make you feel. Honestly, attorneys, judges, they always make you feel like, hey, we need you here. You're a valuable person in this industry. So continue going, and it's going to go well for you guys. Really.
Yes,
So
they said that you really encouraged them to keep going. So thank you. I also thank you on behalf of the other students from Nayeli and our legal court interpreter class. Thank you so much for participating. I thank your dad also for being your support and for being there also as a fan of our classes. He's
Yes.
always welcome. He's our VIP as well. Thank you, Bob. So thank you so much, and the best of luck to you. We will send you the recording. The session has been recording from the beginning once I edit it, and I will send it to you in this week so you could have it for your reference as well.
Great. Thank you, guys. I wish
Thank
you
you
the
so
best,
much.
and good luck. Okay.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Thank you so much. The best of for you too. Thanks.
Thank you. Likewise. Bye.
Bye-bye.